Well, welcome everybody. I'm really glad you made it out tonight. We're broadcasting live as well, so I know we have some online, or will be shortly if they're not on. But I just really want to welcome you guys all here, and it's been a really interesting journey going through and researching all of this. It's crazy how the Lyme's is such a complicated deal, and it's so unfortunate that there's hardly anybody out there who really understands. And it's really has good answers, shall I say? Mm-hmm. So many times in Lyme's, you're just getting the runaround. You don't get the it's not exactly something easy to diagnose. Majority of the Lyme experts out there, and looking at several of the Lyme experts, there's certainly some that I would say are more expert than others. And trying to actually get a real diagnosis is one thing, and most of the experts are going off of ultimately symptoms. Some will be doing labs and figuring stuff out, but there's so many labs to do too. You could go crazy on labs, finding out different things, because I'm sure who here actually has Lyme or has been diagnosed with Lyme? So we've got quite a few. So have any of you been on a course of treatment and it maybe helped, and then you're off the treatment and you kind of relapse and you just still have these lingering things that just don't go away, right? Just have different things that, especially if you're stressed, especially if you're tired, at the end of the day, the body just doesn't work as well as it did when you're refreshed and you're not stressed and that. And there's reasons for that, and I'll be explaining some of that later. And there's things that can be done, and on the natural side of things. Unfortunately, also with the, on the medication side of things, there's a lot of consequences and risks in the medication side that, isn't working with your body. When the body is designed so that it can heal, and the body wants to heal given the right opportunity. And so what we're going to talk about today is how we can get our body having the right opportunity so that you can come through this, so that you can live life without medication, or live life without fear of, oh no, I'm going to have a relapse. And, do the things that you want to do. You can play with the kids, you can run to, the games, you can, be a coach, and your brain will actually function because you want it to. I mean, anybody have the whole mind fogginess, can't get the brain to work, right?
You can blame that on Lyme?
You can blame that on Lyme. So basically, in the research, what it's showing is we really have a Lyme epidemic happening in front of us, and it's so complicated, and there's hardly anybody out there who can really do help so that we're working through it. It's pretty much, there's been Lyme documented in pretty much every single country. So it's not just here in the US, it's not just in France and Germany, it's in Australia, it's in Alaska, it's in China, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So, there's multiple animals that are carriers. It's not just the deer tick that is the carrier either. There's many different, well, I don't know about many, but it's more common and it's more prevalent, and it's increasing by about 10% every year.
What's
the amount of cases
diagnosed?
Well, diagnosed, but even when you look at the CDC, they get about 30,000 cases that are documented, recorded, shall we say. one, a lot of the doctors that do test for Lyme and do diagnose, they don't actually send it to the CDC. The CDC is the Center for Disease Control. So they're like your government agency that's monitoring different things. And the CDC knows it's more like 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 cases that are happening every year. And they're only getting a few that are actually documented and brought to them. So they know that there's this misrepresentation. And they know that there's a lot of people out there that are gone undiagnosed and misdiagnosed. Your common misdiagnoses are chronic fatigue, are depression, are MS, are lupus, are fibromyalgia. All those things are highly related with Lyme. It may be a secondary thing. It may, the Lyme possibly set you up for then this other autoimmune thing to happen. So there's a lot of things that are going against us, and with it being complicated, you know, unfortunately our system that we have is, with the medical system, they don't do well with complicated. They're not set up for complicated. You know, they want to say, okay, here's the picture, and here's the drug that goes with the picture, you're good to go, right? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, a good majority of the time, the drug helps with symptoms, but really doesn't get to the underlying cause. And through what I'm going to talk about tonight, we can get to the underlying cause and actually start getting the body so that it can heal and repair and get rid of all the crud that's going on. So, everybody with me? Does that sound like a good plan? All right. So, yeah, I've watched quite a few different self videos of people on online as well in researching this, and it's just crazy, you know, the different runaround that you get and all the symptoms that are there. You know, it's just absolutely crazy. So, I mean, typically Lyme, I shouldn't say typically, in a certain percent of cases, which is actually not very high, you know, you'll get the bullseye rash or something, some kind of a rash after you get a bit, right? But in a good majority of cases, you don't even get that. Anybody here actually remember getting it?
I have
Okay.
a bullseye.
You had?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So one person out of, what do we have, like 8 that raised their hand. My brother-in-law is one of them. I don't think he ever had a rash like that. Maybe he did. So flu-like symptoms, you know, the initial symptoms, you know, catching it early, that's possibly where antibiotics might be an okay deal to get it before it actually gets into the nervous system and before it gets into the joints and before it gets into other places that really starts causing problems and is really much harder to deal with and get it out. So you've got, you know, the whole flu-like systems, you know, no energy, the fatigue, you have swollen lymph nodes, rapid heart, so an irregular heartbeat. That's oftentimes a later sign of Lyme. Different palsies, you know, a Bell's palsy, you know, where part of the face basically gets like paralyzed. That's another one that's very, very highly related with Lyme. And other palsies, you know, shaking legs and just weird jerky body movements is really common. Meningitis, there's different strains of Lyme and co-infection that will actually cause meningitis symptoms. So it's inflammation in the brain, fever, stiff neck, eye sensitivity, the confusion, all those things. And then if it actually gets into the nervous system and into the nerves throughout the body, it gets to many joint problems, it gets to more heart issues, more brain fog, brain function, even muscle coordination to make things happen. Tremors, seizures, it can be misdiagnosed as Parkinson's as well.
What?
Yeah. Another one. You know, memory loss, confusion, loss of strength, mood swings, depression, anxiety. I mean, all of these things are all within the mix of things that can happen. One thing too, you know, on the antibiotic route, you know, the doctors are hopefully mostly aware of this, but you know, usually you'll get put on a cocktail of things because they're trying to get different areas, right? Because the Lyme, it'll hit the cell wall. Okay, so you'll have around the cells of the cell wall, these parts that actually make it into the cell. So, you know, there's things there what we may try to get. They'll make like cysts and wall themselves up and protect themselves. So that's another area that they're trying to get. You've got the biofilms in the body that, you know, so I mean, it just really jumps into all sorts of different places and just makes it really hard to get at. So that's where just one antibiotic, if you go that route, which more and more I look at it, in some cases it may get you in a direction that will cut down some of the problems so that, but then you have to boost your body up in order to get rid of the rest, because the antibiotics are never going to get it all.
Really?
Really. It's just not going to happen.
Does it just come back? So if it's in all these different places and you only get it out of one place, and if you don't get it all, is it gonna come back?
It can come back and you'll have different residual things, you know, different residual symptoms. So, you know, it'll be that constant brain fog that you just can't shake, or, you know, the weird little nerve shooting pain things, you know, or it feels like somebody's stabbing you, or, you know, just, you know, those kinds of things, you know, the different joint pains, you know, those will be things that can linger if, you know, and they'll even do, I mean, there'll be people that have been treated and, you know, quote unquote, you know, they themselves will proclaim, you know, that they're pretty well healed. They're you know, 95%, 98%, they're doing good. And in the different lab panels, there'll still be different antibodies that'll show up. You know, so if their body slides down, if their body functioning slides down, something happens, then it will surge up again. You know, so it's like your body's constantly fighting it down. So, but we get the body going, and body can overrun. But anyway, so running that different cocktail of antibiotics, you really got to be careful, because part of your, you know, for the heart rate, okay, so there's some that will extend parts of those. So if you do, you know, let's say 2 of them that'll do that, you can really mess with your heart rate, and that's not a good thing. So, you know, the doctors should be aware of this, but that's definitely something that you want to make sure that you're not on 2 different antibiotics that will mess with the heart rate.
And they kill the natural flora in the body.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You know, the risks of the antibiotics are so big, and there's other ways I'll be talking about to get into the body and to fight off naturally the different parasites and the fungus and the yeast and the molds and the bacteria that doesn't affect that. When you go on the antibiotics, it totally flushes all the good bacteria out. Okay, it severely does that. And if you didn't know this, there's huge research happening right now on just figuring out what all is going on in the gut, because they don't even know. Okay, there's these major complicated different diagrams that I was looking at, and there's like 50 things on there of all the things that, and that's, you know, only part of what they even know. And the biome, the gut biome, is 80% of your immune system. And when you take antibiotics and you chop that up, you know, you get leaky gut. You start, you know, the foods that you're eating, they're, you know, like you even had that, you know, you saw it on the microscope when they checked your blood. I mean, there's chunks of food floating around in your bloodstream. Well, your body reacts to that. It's not supposed to be there. So that's where all these crazy allergies and stuff are coming from, because everybody's gut is just messed up. So that's part of what needs to happen, is we need to get that back working so that our body can fight stuff off better and protect us. Ultimately, prevention is like way better than trying to cure something later, right?
Right.
You know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Mm-hmm.
So if our bodies are strong, probably never even get Lyme. So your body will fight it off before you even know you had it. You know, just like a cold, just like any virus. So, some of the different tests that are out there, the ELISA is the one that they normally start with when they test, and if that one is inconclusive, then they'll go and they'll do something called a Western blot. Okay, so that's like the secondary test. Now, the ELISA test, they did the study and they tested a whole bunch of people, and ones that they already knew were positive, and it only showed positive in around 50% of people. So the ELISA test is really, really inconclusive, and it's really not hardly worth the hell it is.
Like the weatherman.
Like the weatherman. Yeah, it might rain.
Actually, it's better than the weatherman, but slightly.
Right. So, the Western blot is a better test, but the problem there is you actually need to have somebody who can read the Western blot, who actually knows how to read it. Because from the Western blot, they, basically a whole bunch of different things will show up from that. But you have to know what those different things are and what they correlate with, and not just looking at the line. So I'm sure many of you who have been diagnosed and have been doing research, there's all these different co-infections that happen along with Lyme. And that's where a lot of the problem comes from as well. So let me just list a few. Where did I put them? Oh, there we go. So you've got Borrelia strains, which is the Borrelia burgdorferi. You can't say it right now. That is like your Lyme one, okay? Now, there's like 100 different strains of that one, okay? Each one I'm going to tell you, there's like 100 or more different strains of each one. So it's impossible, one, to test for each individual different thing, okay? So, but they have different panels that will pick up, you know, certain ones. So they'll have, you know, say when they're looking for Borrelia, if they're somebody who's really doing a bunch of testing, they'll test for several different strains of it, and if you have that, hopefully one of those will show up. Okay, you've got the Ehrlichia is another one. You got Anaplasma. You've got Babesia, and there's other. That's a pyroplasm, and there's actually a bunch of other pyroplasms too. You got Bertonella. You also have other viruses that happen. You've got Mycoplasma, and then there's other bacteria and other parasites that can show up as well. So, all starting from Lyme, or possibly one of, you know, the Ehrlichia and the Babesia are really, really common in the U.S. Actually, the Bartonella is too. So between those, I mean, you might never ever actually have Lyme anyway. You might have Babesia, and that's and one of the symptoms with Babesia that's pretty common, more so than the other ones, is just like heavy night sweats and even day sweats. You know, just breaking out in the sweat. That's kind of, you know, and then the different joints that hurt, or different muscles that hurt, but it's always moving. So, you know, today it's this, and tomorrow it's my knee, and then it's my hip, and you know, it's just constantly moving. So those are looking at the myriad of systems or of symptoms helps you to figure out exactly what you have going on. So again, we're just at just explaining another way why this is just so complicated and how it's hard to deal with and hard to do a lot of figuring out. So ultimately, in order to treat someone with Lyme, you have to look at multiple different avenues of healing and not just, you know, the medication. Because like we said, medication is something that's going to, which one worked? This one. You know, it just tends to cover up symptoms instead of actually get down to the bottom line and fix what's going on. So the things in general that you have to deal with is, one, you have to help with the infection. Okay? The next thing is the inflammation that it causes and creates in the body. And lastly, you need to work on boosting your immune system. So, has anybody ever dealt with the Hertz reactions?
I have friends
Yeah.
who and their kids.
Hertz.
It's okay.
Hertz, they go Herxheimer. It was a doctor that kind of figured out. Basically, as you're treating the Lyme, you get die-off of the organisms, and it just makes you just ill.
Kind of like Candida lab?
Yes.
Like that sort of thing.
Right, yeah, it's a similar reaction. You know, basically you're just flooding the body with a bunch of crud, and the body's trying to get it out, but in the meantime, it just makes you feel no Gouda. No Gouda. So, you know, and in a lot of things, and even some of the stuff that I'll talk about doing, you can still get some of that Herxheimer reaction, but you can always just back up a little bit and not go at it quite so hard. And, you know, it'll be a little bit slower process, but you're still gonna make progress in working through the things. But it's huge that you are working on all three of these, because you're combating at different angles and you're boosting your body up in order to do it. So ultimately, in going through what do we need to do to work on fixing the body and getting rid of the infection, is we kind of have the 5 pillars of health. And ultimately, health is health. And how you get to health is this kind of the same for everybody. And, you know, there isn't like brain healthy and, you know, heart healthy and muscle healthy, and, you know, it's either you have health or you don't. You know, something is gonna be creeping up at you. And so what we do is we just work multiple different levels and really combat the whole body and the whole infection and work on getting you better. So this works in multiple different things, but I'll specifically talk about certain things and why it's important here in the Lyme or the co-infections or whatever's going on as we're talking about tonight. So, so the first thing is mindset, and being, one, open-minded, and two, just having hope. It is warm in here, isn't it? So we got a little fan up here, but it doesn't do much.
You know, it'll be Jackson.
Yes, little sauna going on here. I think it's probably already maxed down, isn't it? As low as it'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like heat yoga, it's just like heat health.
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of like what Becca does with doing the saran
Yeah,
wrap and
yeah,
working
lean
out.
out.
So trying to lean out for her competition. But with mindset, one thing that you need, and this works in many different diseases, whether it be, you know, cancer or heart disease or whatever, you gotta have a little bit of hope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you've given up, you know, everything in your body, I mean, you're just sending the signals in your body to not heal if you've given up. Okay, so you've gotta have that hope, you've gotta be willing to try something new. And, just know that help is out there. You know, holding, you know, bad thoughts and continue, you know, let's think of an athlete, okay? If an athlete is continually telling himself, I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna lose, are they gonna win?
Why not?
No. Yeah, they beat themselves before they even started the race. So it doesn't even matter the training that they do if they've already told themselves they're gonna lose. So it works in life too. I mean, you have to be your own best cheerleader in here in order to overcome and conquer and have success really in anything. And ultimately, that's just number one. You just have to have, you know, that. One of the videos I was watching of one of those self videos of their, you know, their Lyme story, and it was like an hour and 12 minutes, and it was like an hour and it was over an hour into it, and she was still going to the ER. And I'm like, okay, this is supposed to have a happy ending, right? You know, it was like nearly 4 years of them dealing with stuff and the agony that this poor gal went through. I just can't imagine. I'm like, I don't know that I would be strong enough to continue to go through. I mean, it was just crazy. So amazing mindset that she had to just keep working through it, and her husband was absolutely amazing, taking care of her, just really cool. But so mindset. We all got mindset?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next thing is the nervous system. So I'm a wellness chiropractor by trade, and so the nervous system is definitely my what I like to talk about, what I know a lot about. And ultimately, you've got the brain, you've got the spinal cord, you've got all the nerves. All right, brain controls everything, right? We know that, and I think we learned that in 3rd grade, whatever. So the brain is the master control, and when there's something impeding the brain being able to talk to the rest of your body, or your body being able to send messages to the brain, can you function where you need to? No. You know, if the brain doesn't know what's happening to your toe, it can't fix your toe. Okay? It can't send the nutrients there that it needs to heal. You know, like in like a diabetic, you know, they lose the feeling there. You know, the circulation goes down, and the brain can't tell it to fix it when it doesn't know that it's going on. And that's ultimately what happens. Having the high insulin levels affects that connection. And the same goes, Lyme can actually, some of the infections can actually get into the nerve, and with the different antibodies that happen, your body can actually get into a chronic disease response where your own body then starts pulling off the myelin sheath, you know, and that's where some of that nerve comes in, because your antibodies get mixed up. You know, that's the whole thing with the autoimmune, is something get mixed up and you start fighting yourself because it looks like something else. It looks like some of the bugs that it's going after. All right, so there's,
You gotta turn that around.
right, you gotta turn it around. And a lot of it is here. You gotta get the inflammation cooled off so that, and boost the immune system so that it doesn't just fight all these crazy things that it doesn't need to be fighting. And the nervous system is controlling that. Anytime, so stress in our bodies affect magnesium, okay? So we'll get to a little bit more of that on the nutrition side. But magnesium has to do with muscle relaxation. Alright, so we're under stress, we're eating up our magnesium, so our muscles can't relax, so we get tense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tense muscles can pull things out, right? So puts pressure on the nervous system, things aren't talking. You know, they're not talking as well. So doing things like yoga, doing stretching, seeing a chiropractor, making sure that the nervous system is physically able to function. So there's nutrients that we'll get to as well, and that's also part of that. But just physically functioning, making sure that's working is one key, because you can't get any healing at all if that's not working. So nutrition is where I'm gonna spend a good portion of time. So number one on nutrition, we're gonna talk about water for a second. Alright, so is all water equal? No. Yes, you just talked to me about. So there's a lot of different water filtration systems out there, but your typical city water is filled with toxins. But it's, just this much of this toxin and just this much, so it's safe, because we only have this much of this one and this much of this one and this much, but, you add them all up. When they test for toxicity and stuff, they don't throw them all in and then test. They said, well, how much of this one can we have before it's a problem? And how much of this one can we have before it's a problem? They don't,
They don't do the stew.
they don't do the stew. And that's on, your research studies too for healing, for Lyme's, for diabetes, for arthritis, for all that. I mean, they look at one thing, it's the whole majority of the medical mindset is one cause makes one disease happen. And the chronic disease that we have going on isn't that way, and that's why it's such a problem. There's multiple factors happening that are causing this. So yeah, we can't find a cure because one thing isn't gonna fix it. That's where all these, multidisciplinary practices are coming in, and integrative medicine and functional medicine. That's what we're gonna be going towards here sometime after our medical system crashes or something. But, a lot of people are starting to look for that again because, that's the way it used to be. And it got transformed into what we have now. And so we're starting to work our way towards the other way, to start working with the body instead of against the body. Putting a poison in the body to take care of a poison doesn't exactly work, right?
That's the brain fog.
That's that brain fog, yes.
Someone has brain fog.
Yes. So unfortunately, I think a lot of our MDs have Lyme because their brains aren't working right. But there are good ones out there, so I won't throw them all under the bus, absolutely not. But so much of it is just this, you have this, so this will fix you, and it doesn't. And I'm not into managing things, I'm into fixing things. All right, so let's face that.
One thing I noticed
Yes.
too in my years of stuff is they only each doctor is specific to what they know. So they're only going to tell you, if they're a pain doctor, they're going to say, take this drug. If, chiropractic, fix the spine.
Right.
Everybody's going to tell you what their specialty is, which
Right.
makes sense. They're not,
Yes.
and that's kind of part of the problem too, is they're
Right.
fixing what they know is
Right.
going on in your body.
Exactly. I had a patient who had, what kind of cancer did she have? I can't think. But she also had some uterus stuff going on. And so she was talking with the cancer doctor, because they knew it was hormone related. And so she's like, well, should I go off my birth control then? And the cancer doctor's like, well, you better go talk to your OBGYN about that. Okay, talk to the OBGYN about that. They're like, oh, well, if you're worried about it with reacting with cancer or whatever, you need to talk to the cancer doctor about that. So you constantly get this runaround because they don't look at the whole body.
Right.
They're looking at different parts and pieces.
Right.
And everything works together.
Working with a team.
And they have to talk to each other.
Right. Having a conference with different doctors so everybody's on the same page, that would be like a great, much better system than we have. And you have the medical system now is totally driven by the pharmaceutical companies. I think we all know that. You know, their majority of the curriculum that the doctors are learning now is decided upon by the pharmaceutical companies because they're funding the schools. So,
Huge profits,
yes,
monumental profits.
monumental profits, exactly. So enough of people are gonna have chronic disease and other issues, and eventually we'll upturn the system because finally somebody will decide, gee, maybe this isn't working. So water is huge. Even tap water, or I don't mean tap water, but like well water, you know, I live in the country, and I was testing my water, and my water's not horrible, but it's not great. It's not optimal by any means. One of the research I was looking at, this doctor, and I can't remember his name. If you really want to know, I can find out for you. But he was saying, and he's, you know, more of a functional medicine guy, and he was saying any normal person that's healthy should be drinking water at a pH of 9. If you're sick, you should be drinking water at a pH of 11. And I'm like, I don't even know how you get it that high, but you know, most of your city water is at like a 5 or a 6. And
Most your bottled water is too.
yes, most of the bottled water is too, exactly. I tested, you know, my husband got a Keurig for Christmas. And so I was thinking, you know, because they tend to corrode inside and cause problems, you know, talking to other people. So I thought, well, you know what, I'll get the, you know, the regular drinking water out of, you know, from Target, that's in a gallon jug. So when I got it, after I was using it for a little bit, I'm like, you know what, I should test that. Because I hadn't done that, and so I tested it, and it was at like a 5.5. So, does everybody understand pH? I should probably draw that out. Probably not everybody. Okay. So
That'd be a good
One
thing.
like
Okay.
sevens of this
We
way.
have
Yes.
enough chemistry.
all right. So pH is power of hydrogen.
Civic or.
Okay. So what water, clean, pure water, that's just straight water, is a 7. Okay, so this is all based off of water. And the most acid thing that you can get is at a pH of 1. And really, really, really high alkaline, which is, I think, pretty close to like straight calcium. It's pretty close.
Hydroxide.
Pretty close. It's 14, all right? Your blood, where our body wants to be at, where it works best at, where it needs to stay very, very close to, 7.365, okay? Now, how this works too is, we go to 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, okay. So, from 7 to 6, that's not a 1 difference. It's by a power of 10, okay? So then from 6 to 5, 10 times 10 is 100 times more than 7, okay? So you're getting 1,000, 10,000, okay. So where's your Mountain Dews and your Cokes and your, they're down here.
So that's
Okay.
acidic, it's
That's
10,000
acidic,
times
yeah,
more
so it's
acidic.
10,000 times more acidic
Sorry, remove the
plus
rust
than
off.
what you need to be. So what do you need to be doing over here to just do 1 16-ounce soda?
That's something else.
You're gonna do a lot of other stuff over here in order to balance that. Because over time what happens is your body uses electrolytes, which is your calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium, to balance these out. And if you're not putting enough of those in, then it starts stealing it from places in the body. So you'll start stealing calcium out of your bones, you start stealing magnesium out of your muscles, and you start getting muscle cramps, you start getting osteoporosis, and you know, your body is all about staying alive, okay? And if it has to make you have osteoporosis in order to stay alive, it will, okay? But osteoporosis is totally reversible. You just have to hang out over here, okay? You gotta just replenish that back in, and your body once you normalize the toxins that are in there, your body then will rebuild bone. So it's totally doable, and you don't need Fosmax to do it. So what we have, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful electrolytes in, you can add it to the purified water. You can drink this straight, you can add it to stuff. This is at a pH of about 9.5. So add it to things, it helps bring you over here. And it gives you the calcium so that you can redeposit in your bones. It gives you the magnesium so that your muscles can relax. And it has the potassium. The potassium helps regulate your water, so your water retention, make sure that you're sucking in the water for making sure that your body can run right. And, you know, it doesn't help so that you don't retain water, but you gotta make sure you're drinking enough. So water, extremely, extremely important. Body's 70% water, so, you know, if we're running low on water, again, just like if your nervous system out, you know, you can't function right. The water is how the body communicates. We did, Gus did a muscle test on me when we started. And actually, why don't I have somebody come up? Who wants to be my little volunteer? Oh.
I need this
Point your fingers at
They're
everyone.
pointing at me.
Yeah. Yeah, we usually like to pick on people in the front row too. Alright, so you're gonna be my little victim, or volunteer. Thank you for volunteering. I promise I'll be nice.
Okay.
Okay, so what you need to do is stand with your toes and heels together. Very good. Yes, very nice. And I want you to grab my fist.
Okay.
Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push straight down. And I'm gonna see this, we're just doing a baseline here. We're gonna see how much pressure it takes for me pushing down to knock you off balance.
Okay.
Okay, so your shoulder will hinge, your hip will hinge, or your foot will kind of roll, trying to hold yourself up. Alright, so you guys help me watch. Alright, so don't let me tip you.
Okay.
Okay? So you're hinging there. Is that at the waist?
Yeah.
Okay, try one more time. I wanna make sure that we've got a good one. Okay, ready? Here we go. Hold tight again. There we go.
This foot's going.
Okay, yep, foot's going. So right about 20, 25 is what I'm getting at. Where'd it go? Is it ultra?
Is it on the-
Yeah, that's what we were using.
That's an empty one. So, alright. So, it's a shot.
It's a shot, yes.
Who likes healthy shots? Now, I always like to play around with this. Things that are good with you have to taste bad, right? Usually. Okay, so smell that for me first. Okay.
I smell citrus.
Alright, so, go ahead and drink that down.
It's actually bacon.
Oh.
Bacon, sweet, we got bacon flavor today. So that was pretty rough, wasn't it?
No.
No. It tastes like water. Maybe tastes a little mineral even. Alright, so let's do it again. So we're demonstrating how his body, having the electrolytes, can talk better, so his muscles will coordinate better, he will be stronger. Alright? I can tell difference already. So I'm more than what I was at before, and now I'm right at the end, I'm getting you. I put pretty much all my weight on you before you took that. Could you tell that I was pushing harder?
Yep.
Yes. So that's kind of fun. Thank you. Right? So that just goes to show you how important the electrolytes are. You know, we're all walking around deficient and low, you know. Who has stress in their life?
No, not me.
Never.
Never.
So, like I said, the stress eats magnesium in your body, so that depletes magnesium. And you're just low, though we're chronically low. So you gotta add it in, and food just doesn't do it because our food supply is depleted in the minerals.
Well, and the lime likes magnesium.
The lime likes magnesium too, you're exactly right, because it puts a lot of stress on the body. So there's emotional stress, there's physical stress by exercise and, physical activity. There's chemical stress, and then there's sickness is a stress too. All of those things take magnesium. So anytime you have anything going on, you need more magnesium. And like I said, the food supply is depleted and it's just not there. Alright, so that's the water talk. Next, we're gonna go to food. So Hippocrates says, let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. Okay? He didn't say anything about prescription drugs.
Oh.
So, food is huge, and there's a lot of good things we can do with food, and this day and age, there's a lot of bad things we can do with food. Ultimately, for Lyme's in particular, it works really, really good to just pay attention to things that you eat. A good majority of people in general, and Lyme's is included, and it might even be higher in Lyme's, there's certain things that you just might have to take out of your diet either forever or for a little while, okay? So, everybody can deal with a little while, right? Okay? You can always try it again after it hasn't been in your system for a while and see how your body does, okay? Because generally, when you take something out and you're feeling really good, and then you go and put it back in, and all of a sudden your joints hurt, and your muscles hurt, and your stomach hurts, you might think, was it worth it?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but you have to take the first step, because when you always are adding a little bit of it in, it can be hard to tell whether or not your body's reacting. All right, so this is part of going after the inflammation, because if you're putting something in your body that your body's reacting to, you're adding more inflammation, and we need to do things, whatever we can, to decrease inflammation. Okay, so it starts with putting, what we put in our body. So the biggies that people react to are gluten.
Somebody doesn't know.
So we've got gluten, and that includes wheat. So gluten is something that's in wheat, but it's also in other things like barley and rye, malt, some buckwheat.
Basically greens.
Yeah, and if you're really sensitive to it, you gotta be careful with things even like oats. Because oats generally are processed on the same equipment that wheat is. So you get some cross-contamination in there. So I know for my son, who's dealing with some stuff too, he, he's not as bad as he was, but we do need to be careful with doing that. So I generally buy like gluten-free oats, that are certified gluten-free. So the whole facility doesn't do anything with wheat at all. So wheat never even walks in the door. So then you can't have any of that cross-contamination. Okay, the next one is corn. And soy is the other one. So the other thing with soy, besides, people having inflammatory reactions and just being sensitive to, you have the estrogens that come from soy too. And I think that's, you hear a lot about the, low T syndrome and different stuff like that, low libido, things like that, and I think it's partly a constant soy, because if you're looking at any box, anything, just about guaranteed you'll find at least one of these, if not all three, because they've just intermixed it in everything, so we're getting way, way, way more than we think we're even getting. Because, you wouldn't imagine that raisins, for instance, right, honey, have corn or soy in them. What was it that?
Soil.
Well, sugar.
I don't know, it just happened to be, I was making a point with the gal I was talking to, and it was the raisins that they sell at Menards. Now, I wouldn't buy raisins at Menards, just saying. But it was proof of the point that I told her it would probably have one of those three in it and had two of them.
What? Yeah, so, you know.
Menard raisins.
Menard raisins,
When
don't
they're
get,
at groceries.
don't get
But
the
raisins
raisins.
at
don't
like
get
a
the
co-op are
Find
probably
it in
more.
the grocery store.
Yes, yes.
So don't get
The other thing
I was
that
Yeah.
works in with a lot of this, especially in the Lyme, especially in the cancer, especially of course in the diabetes, is sugar.
All forms though, right? That's what the table
Yes.
sugar, high fructose corn syrup.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's all-
So,
Fruit sugar.
so the forms that are okay in the sugar world, again, you don't want to do tons and tons of it. You don't want to live off of it. But straight fruit sugar, you know, eating an apple. You know,
Not 5 a day.
probably not 5 a day. But you know, fruit sugar, it has the fructose, but it has the fiber that goes along with it too. You know, so that mediates the body's response. But the molasses, you know, is another one. There's minerals in there. There's other things in there that help combat it. Pure maple syrup is another one that there's minerals in there. There's other good things in there, and honey. Stevia is great. Stevia is really great for many things.
And most of the Lyme doctors are using stevia in the liquid form as part of their protocol.
Yes, yeah. Stevia can actually be
It's an
even.
antimicrobial.
Yes, it's an antimicrobial. It helps with the gut flora, and yeah, stevia can be really great.
And they know if that's, okay, there's generally a leaf, ground leaf form, and then there's a refined extract form. Is there any difference in the way those two have the immune system interaction, or is it more with the leaf form?
Of the stevia.
Yeah.
What do you mean by immune system
Well,
reaction?
Okay, you know my sister-in-law.
Yes.
Okay. She gets us, or helped me, or introduced me to using both basically ground powdered leaf and then the refined extract.
Right.
It is so much stronger and it's
Yes.
tougher to work with because you
get
get even
more
a little too much.
aftertaste.
You basically have to throw it away and start over.
Yes.
Okay, so, but have they done any experimentation between the leaf form and the refined form in terms of reacting with the immune system?
Not that I know specifically, but what I do know is ultimately with anything, with any food, the less refined, the better.
Yeah, it's like that.
You know, so, you know, you can grow your own stevia and you can make your own, you know, dried leaves and whatever. I mean,
Okay.
you can do that too. But, you know, the green, you know, if you see it in a green powder form, that's most likely gonna be less processed than, you know, the liquids or the white powders.
So based on my experience, it's much easier to work with.
Right, so, but ultimately, you know, stevia is a way better choice than, you know, regular sugar or high fructose corn syrup or, you know, any of those. I mean, the high fructose corn syrup, that, you know, throws
Corn
that
and
inflammation
sugar.
off. Right, yeah, and the corn
Yeah,
too.
corn.
Corn-based sugar, even better. Alright, so those are things minimizing inflammation and keeping your body going in a good direction. Also, looking at whole food. The closer it was to the farmer, the way he made it or picked it or brew it, the better. You know, so your apple sauce is not as good as the apple, okay? And the apple juice is even worse, right?
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do apple juice, take the fresh apple, juice it, drink it right away. That's much more healing and beneficial for the body. However, you are gonna get the higher sugar content without the fiber, so it is gonna, you know, do a little bit more of a blood sugar spike that way. But anything that's been cooked is going to have depleted you of the enzymes that the live thing had. So, you know, any juice that you buy at the store has been cooked. It's been pasteurized. 'Cause-
Sugar water.
yeah, so it's basically just sugar water.
FDA requirement.
FDA requirement,
Thank you, FDA,
right?
keeping us safe.
Okay, does drinking raw milk freak anybody out in here? No?
It does and it doesn't, like I think about that with my daughter, one of them has a dairy allergy.
Yes.
And the other we did on goat's milk, but the dairy allergy one couldn't do goat's milk, and I'm
Yep.
wondering if the raw milk wouldn't actually be that like cure, cause I've heard that can cure
Right,
dairy
right.
allergy or,
That-
you know, I know
yes.
a lot of this is from Lyme, but
Yes, yeah, again, it just goes back to the conversation that we're on right now about inflammation.
okay.
And, milk protein is harder to digest than goat protein,
Yeah,
than, other things.
so it's
it's-
different with the raw milk protein.
But yeah, but the raw milk is definitely much easier and less people have issues with it. You know, your lactose intolerant people, a lot of them can handle
Yeah.
the raw milk.
Is it the same protein, or is it same molecule size though, or is it just,
Well, it's just that it hasn't been cooked and killed,
okay, that's,
okay? Cause there's other things in the milk that help your body digest it.
Got it, okay.
Okay, so when you pasteurize it, you heat it up, you kill everything that's in there, and then you homogenize it, you totally mess with the fats that are in there so that your body doesn't even recognize it anymore. Okay,
Nice.
so that just, you
Okay.
know, so yeah, drinking pasteurized homogenized milk, not the best.
I read somewhere that if you pasteurize it to increase the lactose, then it converts the milk into more lactose.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense though.
So, yeah. 'Cause
It doesn't increase the lactose, it just decreases the ability for lactose to be assimilated within the body. The enzymes that are cooked off from the living matter limit its ability to be factored into the body at all. So it doesn't really doesn't create more lactose, it just makes more volatility.
That makes sense.
So. Yes, question.
Can goat's milk cause inflammation?
There's people that have issues with the goat's milk too. So goat milk, the protein is much smaller and it tends to be easier for the body to deal with. But, you know, somebody that, you know, their body's already not, you know, they're not in tip-top shape and their gut's a little not there, you know, they're gonna have trouble digesting different things. And so goat's milk can definitely be one. You know, some people just have to totally go off dairy.
Cause I switched to goat's milk, about a month ago, and I don't have any digestive issues. A lot of my inflammation presents in muscle
Yeah.
issues, and so I just had I haven't been able to correlate any of my pain with the goat's milk, but I was just wondering if it's recommended, and I know that I'm all messed up, so
Is yours pasteurized or raw?
it's pasteurized.
Really?
So again, it's a similar
I grew up on
situation
raw.
with the, you know, as the cow's milk. So you know, the pasteurization process kills the live enzymes and the good bacteria that's in there. But, you know, other choices that are really nice, you know, are the almond milk, cashew milk, coconut milk, what's that?
Rice or soy.
Rice,
Maybe not soy.
yeah, I wouldn't do the soy.
Rice. How about hemp?
Hemp milk, that's, yep, all of those are okay choices of a substitute. We personally, at my house, we do a lot of almond milk, we do some cashew milk, and we do some coconut milk and coconut water as we do different stuff. And we do the raw milk, so I luckily have a farm that's about 15 miles from me, so I can go pick it up, and I supply a couple of you in the room here and there with some raw milk once in a while. And oh dang, speaking of, I didn't bring that. I told you, you just have to get me to remember to bring it tonight. So we'll get it to you on Saturday.
I got eggs.
Yes, I got you taken care of earlier. But yes, we need to do things that are healing to the body. Back on the acidic alkaline scale, you've got, you know, meat is on the alkaline side. However, if it is a wild meat, they're gonna be noisy. This was it's helping with airflow. Open it again in a minute. Anything wild caught or hunted, looking at fish, looking at, deer, looking at, pheasants and grouse and, anything in the wild, they're eating a natural diet, and that's where their nutrient comes from. It comes from the plants and the animals and things that they're eating so that they have better nutrients. Your meat that you're buying at the store is, they're fed a lot of corn and soy, they're fed a lot of GMO, they're fed a lot of stuff, and, they're not very nutrient dense for you, shall we
Didn't
say.
live a happy life.
Yeah, they didn't live a happy life.
So happy to get.
So, having the wild, it has the nutrients, naturally in there. You buy salmon at the store that's not wild caught. They've injected it with stuff that makes it look red, because at the farm it's white, because it doesn't have the natural diet of what it should be eating that makes it the red color.
So you get fed pellets.
Yeah, they're getting fed pellets, and a lot of times it's a corn again. So last time I checked, corn wasn't growing in the streams. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but I didn't notice any soy plants in there either.
Like a sci-fi movie.
I know. So, yeah, a lot of the allergies, a lot of the body inflammation, things like that are coming from the food supply that, the chemical companies have been playing with for a while. You've got, the weed killers, the pesticides and the herbicides, that are being contaminated and we're getting into the system. And that kind of gets into the detoxification talk that, we'll get in at the end. But food is really important that you're, having things, eggs are good. Does everybody know eggs are good? Okay, the whole idea that eggs are bad, that story's out the window, so don't worry about that
Unless
one.
you're high in copper.
What's that?
Unless you're already high in copper.
High in copper?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people like search for things for protein and then they end up eating eggs every day, and avocado seem to be really popular, which is
Yes.
copper, and then they can't wonder why they sleep at night. Because zinc is depleted by overabundance of copper that we have.
Right. The general population, however, doesn't have enough copper, but that is a way that you can get too much copper.
For some reason in my Lyme history, eggs have been weird in my diet.
Yes.
Sometimes I can't have the yolk, sometimes I can't have the white. It's kind of been an iffy thing with my inflammation and my
Right.
specific body.
Yeah, they're another one that is a higher allergen food. So there's basically, 7 biggies on the list, and we've listed, a bunch of them, but eggs, peanuts, those are 2 that people have a higher tendency to react to. We're second, third, going on 4th generation of people that didn't grow their own food. So genetically, we've weakened ourselves, and we wonder why, these poor kids that we have now, there's, 5 out of 10, well, probably not that high, but, when we were growing up, who knew anybody with a peanut allergy? Hardly anybody. I mean, there might have been one in a whole school, maybe. Now you've got a whole room full of them, okay? So it's our immune systems are just messed up. It starts with the gut. We've had, antibiotics, we've had heavy metals, we've had, all sorts of pesticides, herbicides, chemicals, smog, just, you name it, it has increased. The toxicity level that our kids are dealing with now versus what the toxicity was in the 70s is 500-fold. So they have a 500-fold greater toxic exposure than we had. So, and we wonder why we're all talking about detoxing. Because we all need it. 100 years ago, we didn't need a detox, right? Because we didn't have any of this stuff. You know, I mean, cars were barely even around, let alone, you know, having all of the smog and everything else that goes along with it. The air was cleaner, the food was cleaner, the water was cleaner. You know, we drank water that was, you know, come from a river or whatever. You know, it was energized. We had the minerals. And things have changed, and so we need to change so that we can keep ourselves healthy. Because unfortunately, majority of the changes that have happened have not helped our health. Okay, so then we go into supplements. So, obviously, we are, part of what we have business-wise here is supplements. So I'm gonna highlight some of ours just because it relates and it helps. And the research is out there behind them. So, you know, we're not the only supplement company out there, of course. We're not the only supplement company that has minerals. We're not the only supplement company that has an omega. But, you know, omega in general, and I'll explain why I like ours. As I said, I'm a wellness chiropractor. I've seen a lot of companies out there. I've seen a lot of how they do business and how they put their products together. And somewhere along the lines, it's like, you know, you're disappointed when you have to look into how things are done. And with this company, I haven't had that. So that is something, you know, why I work with this line. Because you wanna take something that, one, you know isn't gonna hurt you, then two, it's awful nice to be able to tell the works. And you got to feel that, just the electrolytes, you know, what that did. Do you have issues sleeping?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll.
Been like that for years though.
Okay, well,
Used to.
you'll likely sleep better tonight. So,
Is that why?
with the, yeah, because the magnesium. Because magnesium helps prepare your body for sleep. Okay? So you'll have to report on us
Okay.
about that. Alright, so supplements. I already talked about this. The electrolytes, minerals, huge. And it alkalizes us, it brings us towards, you know, higher on the scale. Because, you know, so many of the things that we have are bringing us into that acidic range, and we need to alkalize the body. Getting the body into an alkaline state is going to help everything work better. Okay? When your body's acidic, it's dealing with the acid, and you can't really deal with anything else. Okay, so we need to get our body more alkaline by the foods we eat and supplements that we take, so that it can fight off the other stuff. Huge also in the alkalinity, obviously, is vegetables, right? So, you know, your green leafies, your kale, exactly. Who loves eating kale for every meal?
It's good with olive oil and herbs. And make chips and it's fry.
Yes, yes.
Crisp like Pringles. They break away. Yeah, they break away easier.
Coconuts, we did a recipe.
Oh, yeah, with the
Coconuts or whatever.
oh, yeah.
I could do that one.
Yes, yeah,
was
that
good.
was really good too. So, ultimately now the recommendations is like 9 to 13 servings of green leafies every day. So who does that?
Maybe in a week.
Right. So, our greens, again, talking about cooking things and killing that, they haven't been cooked, so it's still alive. It's like, you know, you're picking something fresh and eating it, except, you add this scoop to this, is some water, and it, activates the enzymes. There's prebiotics, there's probiotics, there's digestive enzymes, a lot of things to help that whole gut bacteria and get that biome healthy, okay? So that's one thing that we have. to help get that going again. Neutralizer. Talked about copper a little bit. Other things that are often deficient in is selenium. Selenium is huge for repair of the body, and the anti-inflammatory markers. Zinc is another big one. With the Lymes and the co-infections, the pain levels that are going on, that's your cytokines in your body. Your cytokines in your body are high, and you need to decrease the cytokines, and one way you can do that is making sure that you have the iodine, the zinc, and the copper as well. And we have our multivitamin here. It's got the super fruits. So it's a fruit concentration, but it has minerals and it has the other essential things that you need. It's got the copper, it's got the iodine, it's got the zinc, and the selenium in there too. Other things that we need to add in that we just don't get enough of, working on the anti-inflammatory markers, is these three are all. Ooh! Strike! I got 8. There's 2 left. I'm always good at getting splits. Alright, this one. Okay. Apparently I'm a little shaky today. So if you can't tell, public speaking is like not super second nature to me. I'm passionate.
You're doing well.
Thank you. I'm passionate about helping people feel better, helping people be able to live the life that they want to live. I mean, nobody wants to be laying in bed not feeling good, right? You know, we want to go out and enjoy life. We want to play with the kids and play with the grandkids and do things with our friends and go hiking and biking and watch movies even, you know, just we want to live life. And I just want to help people do that. You know, people that are struggling, it just hurts me to see people struggle. And I just want to help everybody. So these 3, the cool, super, super cool thing about these 3, and actually I have another one, but I'm going to take that out in a second, is these are a technology product, okay? So these have been developed. They're all natural, but these are all things, I'll explain them individually a little bit, but in a second, but they're all things that we have trouble getting into the body for some reason or another, okay? And we have a delivery system that's a microscopic bubble. We plunk the nutrition in the bubble, protects it through the stomach, okay? So it's in a basically a fatty bubble, and in the stomach, you get the fat into small pieces, but you don't digest it there, okay? And we don't want them digested in the stomach, okay? We want to protect them. So the bubble protects them because your body doesn't need to do anything to it. It's already at the right size that your body wants it. Get it into the small intestine, and that's where your body then can absorb the nutrients that are packed inside. So you actually get the full molecule, the full effect of it whole. Okay, so I'll explain particularly, well, this one, curcumin, is huge for the anti-inflammatory markers, huge for the cytokines and dropping them down for the muscle aches, the muscle pains, joint pains, and this is something, I mean, has everybody heard of curcumin? So if you've done a whole much research, you've probably come across it. It's the active form of the, what's it called? Turmeric. Yes. So in curry, all right? The problem is you can't just eat a whole ton of curry and get enough curcumin to make any benefit, okay? The amount that you have to eat to get the curcumin that you need is going to give you such GI upset that is not worth it. So
Different kind of.
protecting it in the bubble, you don't have the GI upset with doing it, and it actually gets into the system because it's one of those things that's just not super absorbable. On top of that, the other ingredients that are in here are also huge, probably almost better than the curcumin. But the curcumin is just the big popular thing right now, so we don't even hardly talk about the other things that are in there, but they're probably more powerful than the curcumin even. It's for detoxing the body, for anti-inflammatory markers and the different things in the body that they work on. So if you think of inflammation, so let's say these are all, each letter is a different kind of inflammation, okay? So, you know, you kind of have to hit several different angles to get at it, right? You know, because there's a bunch of different things there. Not one anti-inflammatory is going to get everything. So that's why we have a spectrum, because it hits more of the avenues of the way it's produced in the body. And Lyme is, you know, it just, in the co-infections, it just produces inflammation just rampant all over the place. So there's a lot of areas that you need to hit to make sure that you get that pain down and get that functioning up. So the curcumin is huge. Let's talk about this first, because probably more familiar with this. Omega-3 fish oil, right? Fish oil is great, and the problem with fish oil though is fish oil comes from a bigger fish. It's where it's manufactured from. And the bigger fish eats a smaller fish that ate a smaller fish that ate a smaller fish that ate the algae. Okay? So the mercury builds in this one, and then this one eats it, and it builds in that one, and this one eats that one, and it builds in that one, and this one, you know. So you're having a high concentration of mercury in the bigger fish. So you take the omega-3, then you try to strip out all the bad stuff out of it, and there's a lot of processing that has to happen there. On top of it, then you have that big fishy burpy thing, and
And some
Big
ice cream,
fishy
I read.
burpy thing.
What's
I
that?
think Ben and Jerry's have like ice cream where there's omega, like fish oil in it, but you can't taste it.
Oh.
So Ben and Jerry's has, or they used to have a product that
Interesting.
people
Another reason to have ice cream.
check on their website.
All right, check Ben and
like
Jerry's.
it.
That's our new form of
But
omega-3s.
then you have the dairy.
That's right. Dang it! That darn dairy
Oh,
folks
you're so
can't go
close.
there. Oh, here we thought we had an answer.
And corn and.
But anyway, so what we've done is we've taken, ultimately it's coming from the algae that the fish are eating, right? So we just source it from the algae, and then we don't have the issue of the mercury and the contamination there. Also very, very renewable, we're not going to deplete our oceans of the fish. So, you know, we can actually eat some fish and, you know, not have it depleted for other reasons. So again, it's another huge, for many, many different diseases. Our whole country, in what's happening, there's omega-3s, which are good, and then there's the omega-6, okay? Omega-6s turn on your inflammatory system in the body, okay? They turn the immune system on to fight, okay, when it doesn't need to be fighting. And our balance in this country is about 20 omega-6s to 1 omega-3, all right? Where we should be at is like 1 to 1 is optimal, 1 to 3 is reasonable, okay? 1 to 6, that's when you start having disease pop up, okay? So huge, huge, huge in any chronic disease, and Lyme obviously is a biggie for that. So having the omega-3s is really, really the thing to do. Now, this one is it's just one of my favorites. And part of that is it's just really, it's GPC, there's 3 major things in here, okay? The P is actually the fatty bubble, which is sunflower oil, which is healthy for you. It's more, you get some omega-3 in there too. Vitamin C, who knows vitamin C is good for you? Right, we've been hearing about that since we were little, right? I grew up in somewhat of a nutrition family, so, you know, if you had a sore throat, you sucked on vitamin C. So, but vitamin C, one thing that, you know, some of the therapies out there that they will do for someone who's really ill is they'll do an IV form of vitamin C, okay? They'll do that in cancer treatments, they'll do that in, some of the Lyme cases, some of the Lyme doctors will do that. Vitamin C is very, very huge antioxidant in the body to help fight off all these different things that the Lyme's creating, or the co-infections are creating. And, having the vitamin C in there, your body can only take so much, okay? So having like 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C doesn't help you that much, because you can only absorb about 60.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
And that'll last in your body for, maybe 2 hours, and then your body is depleted again. So, having something in a smaller form, multiple times during the day, is gonna get you to a certain level. However, the research that we did on this is really cool, because putting it in that protective bubble, somehow the threshold level of what your body could take in went up. So not only can we increase how much the body can take in, but then it extends it out. Instead of being in the body for about 2 hours, it's in the body at higher levels for about 8 hours. Yes.
Is that all of your little bubbles, it's all sunflower though?
Yes, the sunflower.
We can't do any, my kid can't do any nuts or seeds, she's allergic to over 40 things, so, and that's a thing for us, like almost
Right.
every supplement, it's got sunflower or soy or something she's
Right.
allergic to it. Sunflower is like the biggie, if it's
That
not
is a biggie.
soy, it's sunflower, so.
Brian, a thought on that one as far as the nut allergy?
The seeds, she's allergic to all seeds and nuts.
Seeds and nuts.
There's not much you can do. I mean,
Okay.
the human body, one thing that's gonna happen when you build your immune system, you're gonna have less allergies.
Yeah,
So by taking some of the other products, you're gonna build your immune system up. One way to find out if this particular strain, and sunflower oil is very different. I mean, depending on the process that it's extracted, depending on if it's heat treated, depending on these different factors. So one way that you can find out is take this soft tissue here, put a little bit here, see if they react to it. Because oftentimes, and again, I have somebody that's got a high level of allergy to sunflower, but yet takes all of our liposomes. I mean, and every morning, every afternoon, and every evening, all three of them have not had a single reaction,
oh,
so.
that's good to know, okay, thank you.
But we checked it out, again, allergies are not to mess with. Your body's saying, hey, I don't, there's things going on, but when your immune system is high, you can handle so many more things.
Yeah,
So,
okay, thank you.
I was just thinking here, we're talking about the increased alkalinity of the neutralizer. Some of the research I've done indicates that the higher the pH, the more your body absorbs it, hydrates it. And if you're taking medications, that acts as a force multiplier for the medications, so that they're recommending that people who are using alkalinized water drink neutral water when they're taking their medications. But I'm thinking, could we turn that around with making the vitamin C more available at that point too?
Potentially, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm thinking.
right. Yeah, interesting thought process on that too. Made me think of another thing about the prescription meds that just drives me absolutely bonkers. So supplements like what we have here, we're an FDA certified facility, okay, which means we have it tested, we have it third party tested. What we say is in here is in here, okay? There's not stuff in here that we don't say is in here, okay? However, if we have, okay, so this here says that there is 925 milligrams of vitamin C in a teaspoon. If it is 930, actually it's 926 milligrams of vitamin C, we can't sell it. If we're over, or no, wait, it can be,
0.5% swing.
that was 103%. Yeah, so you would be, it has to be at least 925, but it can't be 103%, 3% higher. So 926, you might be okay. If it's 927, we can't sell it. Okay? So we have a 3% margin of error of what's in here. Now your prescription drugs, they have a 10% margin. They could be up to 110% of what they say. They could be down to 90% of what they say. So you got a 20% swing of what could be in each individual pill. of what it says it is.
Opinion you have to use it,
And the only reason why, the reason why something is a prescription is because it has a kill rate. Okay, so we're letting there be a 20% swing on something that could possibly kill you. But yet, you know, vitamin C, I'm pretty sure nobody died from an overdose of vitamin C. You know, that's something that your body's just gonna pee out, okay? And might give you some diarrhea, but
Worse things have happened.
those things have happened. You know, you take 20 grams of it, yes.
Yeah, didn't they call sailors like 100 years ago limeys because they were lacking in vitamin C when they were on ship?
Were they limeys?
I think that's what they were.
They were called limes because they were sucking on limes to offset.
Okay, I knew there was some
Yeah.
If they
relation.
didn't do it, they got scurvy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
scurvy was vitamin C
Everyone's
deficiency.
like,
And that's-
scurvy.
That's basically your heart disease that's happening now, and the blood vessel disease is basically a chronic form of low-grade scurvy.
Okay.
So we're deficient in vitamin C. So we all need more. So yeah, so that's really cool on the vitamin C here. Now, the other thing that's in here is glutathione. And so the glutathione is something that's naturally found in your body. Your body makes it, so it's a non-essential nutrient because your body makes it. However, there's limiting factors that prevent us from making it. And it's 3 amino acids. You don't really need to write this down, but I'll give it to you. It's cysteine, glycine, and glutamate. So they're all basically protein building blocks. And cysteine tends to be, in general, the limiting factor, okay? So there's different doctors out there that will talk about, you know, well, we're gonna give you more, we're gonna boost up your levels of cysteine and glycine and glutamate so that your body will make more. Okay, well, the problem is in Lyme in particular, and there's other things as well, they really like cysteine. So all you're doing is you're helping them, because they steal it before your body gets a chance to make the glutathione. So
That's not nice.
that's not nice. So that's why having it in the liposome, in the protective bubble, your body can absorb it. Here I go again!
It's the spare. She got the spare.
This is my comic relief. I did that on purpose. But, so, you know, being able to absorb that whole and putting that in their bowl, then you're not feeding the other things the cysteine that they want. Okay, and you're upping your body. The other way you can do it is you can get injections. So the Lyme doctors will do injections of it. Suzanne Summers, she goes in and gets an injection of glutathione every week. That's part of how she stays young and how she stays looking good. I know, you're not the
She's
only
like
one.
60.
Actually, I think Becca might already have that line. She might already be working that one. We were talking about that on Saturday. But the thing with getting an injection of glutathione is it's not cheap.
And it's a needle.
And it's a needle, yes. For those that are afraid of needles,
Oh, but
that's
they're
not a
really
good
good.
thing.
You don't even feel it.
It's just like a mosquito bite, right?
Yeah. It's
That's what they
bad.
say.
Yes, well, heard of it.
That's the
Right.
story.
But the glutathione on injection, I mean, you're talking $600-800 a pop. And I mean, if you can afford that even once a week, it works in your body for about 8 hours and then it's used up. So here, do it some in the morning, some in the evening. It gets it in your body for about 12 hours. So with the liposome, it protects it in the body, it stays in the body longer, and then you can take it every day and it's not gonna cost you $800 a week. So, yes.
With the vitamin C that's in there, have you heard or read about vitamin C in the form of ascorbic acid killing gut flora?
No.
Okay. I read an article about that sometime recently, and it was like, it kills off bacteria, but it also would kill good gut bacteria as well.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, the only type of vitamin C that would do that would be the synthetic form.
Right.
And what happens, it reacts kind of like B12. If you take a pill form of B12, it'll react with the acids and create a toxic product. Same with synthetic forms of vitamin C. It'll react with the acids in your stomach and can do some gut damage. But in natural form of vitamin C, and particularly vitamin C that either is directly in the blood system or your lower GI, would not have the same effect to the body.
Why would they have synthetic vitamin C, or what purpose was it?
Cheap?
It's
Well,
marketing.
okay.
You got it.
You gotta, I mean, when you look at an FDA compliant facility, you look at the vitamins that are sold, and not to bash any Mart store, but if we go to a store that ends in Mart, or IT, or however you wanna say it, none of those are FDA compliant. So they have that same 20% factor. Some of the allergies that you're mentioning are allergic to the byproducts. They're not actually allergic to the sunflower. That's why I said it's a great way to check, because oftentimes they're inaccurately diagnosed. So that's why you want to have a form of vitamins that are FDA compliant, because of the accuracy. Because then you can figure out if it is this or this. Those other ones aren't.
Okay, thank you.
We talk about chirality sometime, if you want to get into organic chemistry.
Sounds good. Topic for another day. All right. So, who would then like to take this and boost it so it works even better?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, here we have a wonderful form, same liposomal bubble form of some B vitamins. We got B2, B12, why am I blinking? N-acetylcysteine, which is another
Folate.
amazing, yeah, folic acid, there we go. Again, all huge for the processes within the body that you need to have energy. Okay, so a lot of that fatigue and that just malaise, don't have energy, you're sleepy but you can't sleep, is from the B vitamin shortage. Also, I mean, N-acetylcysteine is huge detoxifier too. If they're worried if somebody overdosed on Tylenol, they give them N-acetylcysteine because it clears that out. Sure, yeah, if it's quiet out there, let's leave it open. So the N-acetylcysteine is really, really big in the body for making that glutathione work better. So if you think about it, glutathione by itself, it can go grab an oxidant, okay, or a free radical, and it can bring it over and say, okay, we're leaving the building, okay, you pee it out. But if you have the N-acetylcysteine in there, the glutathione can say, here you go, N-acetylcysteine, you take that, I'll go get another one. Okay, so it helps replenish the glutathione and the vitamin C in the body so they can continue to work and they don't deplete out. So it just recirculates them even longer and helps them work better.
So it's like taking extra doses without having to pay for it.
Yeah, it's like taking extra doses without having to pay for it.
So you don't have to add the bees to it, right? Yeah, you're saying it's on top of
Yeah,
the other one?
yeah.
Because a lot of us have the MTHFR genes and need it to be methylated.
That is my
Oh,
That
it
is methylated?
Perfect.
Active form.
All right.
So again, the bubble protects it so it doesn't get digested in the stomach, and then your body can use it. And your body doesn't have to go through the reactions to make it active.
Right.
Okay. So yeah. So this is your friend.
What's methylation?
What's methylation?
It's actually
And what's that gene?
MTHFR. It's mutant genes.
Basically, the B vitamins that you take in normally, especially supplement-wise, your body has to do 2 or 3 or 4 chemical reactions to it to actually get it to its active form, so that it does what it's supposed to do in the body. Okay, so it works in the enzyme that it makes, it works in the catalyst that it does, or whatever, so that your body can make energy out of the food that you eat. Okay, but there's certain people, and it's definitely a minimum of 15% of the population. Probably, yeah, it's probably more like 50% or even better, that cannot do those conversions or have really, really hard time doing them. So having an active form, you don't have to go, your body doesn't have to do those chemical reactions to get to the active form. So that's what's really
What about
cool.
taking folic acid versus folate? Because folate is more natural than folic acid.
Right. your body has more, more conversion that it has to do then.
Does that have folate or folate?
It has folate, I believe. Yes. So, this is our brand new product, so,
So would it be fair to say that you make it more bioavailable?
yes.
Okay. 'Cause that's why, when I studied pollution chemistry, the same thing is when you have mercury that gets methylated in an ecosystem, and then all of a sudden, the mercury metal is not absorbable, but the methylated mercury is highly absorbable, and that's what you get the toxicity from,
Okay.
so.
Right. So, yes, it is very, very high absorption and high usability. So another thing, is part of what happens when the good bacteria gets all messed up in the GI system is we tend to have yeast issues. Okay, so, you know, that's another thing of limiting the sugar or going no sugar for a while to help combat the yeast. Alkalinity is gonna help with that. Our greens are gonna help with that. Something else that you can do on top of that is grapefruit seed extract is good at killing the yeast. Again, that's something that, you know, you do for 1 or 2 or 3 months at the most, and then, you know, you don't wanna do that like long-term forever. That's, you know, just work on a system to help get that back in order. You know, having a high concentration, which our greens have probiotics in it, but, you know, if that's an issue too, you might wanna take something else that has more. You know, different probiotic that has, you know, boosting yourself up to 25 or 50 billion. You know, so a lot of your pills only have so much, you know, but doing something, you know, either taking more pills or powders to get you to a higher level, and that will help build that up more as well. Oh, don't forget one of the biggies. Alright, so this, Lyme in particular, huge. Anybody done any silver?
Colloid, what's it called?
Colloidal.
Colloidal
Colloidal,
silver.
right, okay.
Heard.
So, yes, colloidal can be beneficial. What we have is ionic. So particle size, this is another time when particle size is really, really big deal, okay? So colloidal silver can go and kind of smother it on the outside, okay? But with the ionic silver, it can actually get intercellular into the bacteria, into the virus, into the mold that's causing problems, and it can get into the cell and it suffocates it so it can't replicate. Okay. So you don't have issues then with things mutating and changing and hiding from an antibiotic, because this gets inside the cell and it kills it at the source. So it can't mutate, it can't change to get around it, it just is no longer. So with the silver, it works in the easy areas first. So, and it's gonna, you know, get stuff in the GI tract, and it doesn't affect the good bacteria there. So we don't have to worry about that with this. It gets the parasitic, the bad bacteria that are overgrowth in the yeast. It works on those too. And where was I going with that? So in the cell, when it gets in there, it doesn't allow that to replicate anymore. So it's a, oh I know, I was easy. So it's gonna get the stuff in the GI tract first, and then it's gonna work on things in the soft tissues. And then it's gonna work on getting to things that are hiding in the joints. And then it's gonna finally work on getting the stuff that's hiding up in the brain and the spinal cord and the nerves. So this is something that's a longer term deal, but it will get through the whole body and it will clear it out over time. And you don't have the harmful side effects that you do from the antibiotics. that, you know, all the gut bacteria that we're trying to all replace, that we were just talking about. Yes,
Will that help prevent if you're bitten?
yeah. Yeah, so being on a, you know, prophylactically, this is something you can be on forever. It, good for the body. You ever heard the term born with a silver spoon in your mouth? Right? Because that was the rich thing, right? Okay, so this goes back to, I think, Egyptian days or Roman Empire days. You know, the rich had silverware, real silver that they ate with, and they had their water in silver pitchers. And the different plagues and stuff that would happen, the rich were not affected by that because they had the silver ions from eating off of the silverware and drinking water out of the silver pitchers, because some of those ions leach in. Now granted, those were a bigger particle than we're talking here, but this is engineered so it can get intercellular and it can work inside the body.
How often do you recommend taking that?
Multiple times throughout the day, just a little bit. So, you know, you can add a little bit to your water, you know, add a few teaspoons as you're drinking that. You know, the maintenance dose on this is like 7 teaspoons a day. So if you're working on getting rid of stuff, you can go a little higher than that, and get a little bit better concentration, yes.
Can you get any sort of dioxin from it?
You can.
Like, so to help detox your body at the same time?
Yep. So yeah, the glutathione is huge for that too. And again, you give, you know, much of this to a pretty sick person, they'll definitely have some harsh reaction to it, you know. So you can always back off, but just still make sure you're taking it. And we've had people, you know, one dose is a teaspoon on those. And we've had people, you know, even, you know, some people, not real often, but we've had some people react off of just 1 teaspoon. So then it's like, we'll just take a half a teaspoon in the morning, a half teaspoon in the evening, separate them out. And that's usually enough, you know. And then once you start clearing that, you can up the dose a little bit more over time. So it's something you can work into. But it'll just, you know, just keep working on things and just chopping away at them bugs and boost your immune system as well.
You
So,
guys help people navigate that, like their patient yours.
Mhm. Yep. Yes?
What has turned into silver chloride in the stomach?
No.
What was the question?
Brian? Will this turn into silver chloride in the stomach? No. So, I have to look into that a little bit more, but I think that's more the, other forms of silver that will react more with the chloride. Cause you're going off the fact that, you know, it reacts with the chloride and then it doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah, I think it's toxic.
Right.
Silver.
Yeah, so no, ours, so there's, you know, other people worry about the, huh?
Heavy metals?
The heavy metals, but the, silver isn't a heavy metal. Silver is one of those, actually a nutrient that, you know, is one of the necessary nutrients. And, where am I going with this? My brain is not, I'm tired. It's been a long day preparing, actually, it's been a long month preparing for this. My husband can attest that I've been researching and haven't got the sleep that I need to, so I'm gonna start sleeping again after this. But, the silver chloride, the other forms of silver, will react more to the chloride, and then that makes them inert so that they don't, react to the things that we need to. So, and the bigger forms of silver can, over time, there's several different forms that you can buy out there, and some of them can get in the body and then they're a bigger molecule that you can't get out, so you'll, high doses over long periods of time, you'll get this bluish hue. I can't think of what that's called right now.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and ours doesn't do that. It's intracellular, it can come and go, your body will use it, and, right?
Because it's already broken down.
Yeah, it's already at a small level, right, so it's already at a small size, so it doesn't get stuck in anything. And even so, that is, to my knowledge, that it's a cosmetic issue, but it really isn't harmful even still.
It's rare.
Huh?
It's very rare.
Yes,
Very few.
yes, it is very rare, but I know I've talked to some people about the silver line, I don't want to turn blue. I'm like, no, you won't turn blue, it's okay. We don't do the blue people. That's for,
That's Smurfs for us, huh?
yeah, the Smurfs are the, computer.
Blue Man Group.
Yes, the Blue Man Group. They're kind of fun. Alright, so, the last thing, we'll talk a little bit more about detox, and I've already talked a bunch about it, but we'll add a little bit more. Oh, I forgot exercise. Exercise, I didn't have a huge thing for exercise. Obviously, moving around and getting blood supply going, the healing is in your blood. And when you don't have the blood circulating in places you have, you know, it's stagnant in the body, then one, you're not gonna heal. If your blood isn't healthy, you're not gonna heal. So eating the good foods, getting yourself alkaline, making sure that you have the minerals, making sure that you're doing the inflammatory things that you need to do, that are all gonna get you into the healing and heal the blood, and then the blood can heal the rest of the body. So exercise is great. General recommendation on exercise for anybody is, 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week minimum. Doing 3 hours total in a week, hugely huge benefits. Decrease cancer rates, decrease heart disease rates, decrease a lot of things. For some reason, there's between 2 hours a week and 3 hours a week, it just bumps up dramatically. So if you wanna get the most bang for your buck, 3 hours a week is like the key. If you're one that likes to do a lot of exercise and you're out there more than that, then making sure that you do some detoxing and making sure you're on some anti-inflammatory stuff is key, because you're breaking down more of your body when you're doing more exercise, and so you get more lactic acid and more residuals in your body that you need to clear out. So, if you're professional athletes and people that just are doing a lot, they, need to make sure that they're taking care of that. Your professional athletes have a much higher cancer rate because of all the extra stuff in their body.
Tia,
Yes.
how important, or what changes like with the intensity of the exercise? Like you're doing 3 hours a week, but what if you're like, going hardcore for those 3 hours, or if you're just walking for those 3 hours?
They say if you're treating, you shouldn't do the hardcore cardio, but if
Right,
you're
that's what I'm
not,
asking,
then,
because I can't do.
yeah.
Right.
It's like
So
some
how much
walking's
does
better
it-
than
You're gonna have more
Right.
benefits if you do high intensity stuff, like, once I get to the point, is it more beneficial to
You
do that?
you
or just
definitely
stick with-
wanna have some of that time, in a high heart rate, So you do what you can, if you can only get your heart rate so high, or if you can't raise it much at all, you're walking and you're moving, you're getting the blood supply going, you're working the muscles, and that gets all the nutrition and the nutrients working through your whole body. Okay, yes.
Hot yoga is a really good form of exercise.
And it
It's,
will-
it's gentle
Right.
on the body, but the heat
Helps.
raises your heart rate, so your heart is beating
Right.
faster, so you
Yep.
get a better workout. But then the detoxing and the rinsing of the organs with the movement and the heat
Mhm.
is amazing. And
Yeah.
it's just, you can back off and do what you can and cannot do, and still get the benefits of like a running for 2 hours.
Good point. So, yeah, I mean, you wanna have a certain amount where you're doing some cardio if you can. You know, obviously working through this, you'll get to the point where you can do more of that. You know, and then the resistance too, you know, doing a little bit of resistance, getting the muscles going, and a little bit of strength. Cause as we get older, we start to lose that muscle mass, and that's such key for your metabolism, it's key for, maintaining weight and, you know, your stamina and everything, so a little bit of mixture of both is what you want. Any more questions on that? Okay, so detox. I talked a lot about, you know, a lot of these things detox, and so I have a little bit more that I can add on those. The one thing on detox, you're not going to find much for studies on detox, unfortunately. So that's why, you know, you talk to a lot of doctors about detox, and you're like, oh, you don't need a detox. Well, yeah, we do. You know, I mean, we already talked about, I mean, our poor kids, they have a 500 times greater susceptibility and exposure to the toxins that are there. And our immune systems work great, and our detoxifying systems work great. They just weren't necessarily meant to deal with all of this. Okay, so we need to do everything that we can, one, to minimize our exposure. You know, so you want to minimize, you know, let's say if you got deodorant from the store and it doesn't say, you know, 100% natural or something like that, you didn't get it at Whole Foods or some other, you know, natural store, I mean, there is toxins and chemicals in there. There is things that are harmful to the body. You know, you look up the different chemicals that are in there.
Aluminum.
Aluminum. The aluminum, yes, that's one of the big ones. But there's, you know, a lot of other things, you know, several other things that they put in there that are just horrible. And, you know, they're neurotoxins, which means, you know, it's toxic to your brain. There's things that are endocrine interrupters, you know, so that messes with the reactions that are going on in the body. There's just all sorts of things. So, you know, doing cleaning chemicals that are not chemicals, you know, natural cleaning. You know, we've got that as well. Our whole deal is to detoxify the body, heal the body, and reduce exposure. Okay, so we've got, you know, mineral soap. So it's got minerals in it, and it doesn't have a bunch of chemicals. It doesn't have propylene glycol. It doesn't have SLS in it. Good, healthy. Can you find other stuff that's healthy? Yes, you can. We have, you know, we actually have several forms of deodorant. We've got a spray. We have the other ones up here. We also have a stone that's basically, it's just like a salt crystal. And that the salt, what makes you stinky is bacteria that starts to grow. Okay, and the salt keeps the bacteria from growing, hence keeps you from being stinky. So if it works great but doesn't, you know, cause you chemical problems, that's all good. With the liquid in particular, something that you can do is you can add the silver to this, and it works much longer that way. We also have like a roll-on too. So we have several different forms of deodorant that works really nice. We also have a laundry detergent. I swear it was there the other day. Where did it go? Is it on the other?
It hasn't been up there for a couple of years.
Okay, so we've got a natural laundry detergent, we've got a natural fabric softener. If you're using fabric softener, please stop, unless it's a natural one, because that's like one of the worst
skin
things on the
allergies.
planet. Huh?
You can get like mild to severe like skin allergies.
Well, that and
Hives or whatever.
well, think about fabric softener for a second. Okay, you use fabric softener. What does it do? It coats the cloth, right? Okay. What do you do with the cloth then? You
Put it on
wear
your
it
skin, yeah.
on your
On
skin.
your
What does
skin.
your skin do? Your skin is the best absorber ever. Okay. Unfortunately, the skin doesn't have the protective barrier of deciding which toxins to let in and which ones not to. Okay, our skin, it absorbs, so that's where the rest of the detoxification system comes in to clear those out of the things, the bad things that the skin did absorb. So if you wanna minimize your exposure, you know, and then you do it in your sheets, so your sheets are nice and soft, right? Well, then you're sleeping in your sheets, so you're just constantly coating yourself with it all day long. It's
And
better
you're breathing
softeners,
it
it's
too.
horrible. What's that?
You're breathing it.
And you're breathing it, right. So a lot of those wonderful fragrances, it smells so good.
That is not mountains.
No, it's really not
Chemical
mountain
plants
spring
in the
air.
mountains.
Chemical plant mountains. They want you-
Really? So part of detoxing is just minimizing your exposure. You know, don't put things in that are gonna be harmful. Don't do it. You know, pills are generally chemicals. I wanna say more things, but there's a lot of things out there that are supposedly good for you that people promote that are really not that good. And if you wanna ask me about those off camera, we'll talk off camera.
I like that.
Thank you.
Names.
We won't name names right now, but, so heavy metals are another thing, you know, that can cause brain fog, they can cause the, muscle spasms, they can cause the nerve pain, they can cause, the seizures, they can, you know, there's so many things. And, you know, having a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this, you know, whether it's, you know, some heavy metal and some Lyme and some co-infection and some yeast and, you know, so all those things just add up. And so the more we can do to just tame everything down, your body just can build up that much faster and that much better. So other ways to detox, we've talked about the N-acetylcysteine and the vitamin C and the glutathione. Those are huge detoxifiers in the body. But we also have a way, you know, the minerals, so the neutralizer we talked about, where we can actually soak our whole body in basically minerals. Everybody's heard of like an Epsom salt bath, right? Okay, this is Epsom salts on steroids. Okay?
If Epsom salts, because both my kids can't right, Epsom salt, either would that be reactive then to them?
Highly unlikely. Because the Epsom salts, it's a different form of magnesium.
Okay,
It's magnesium sulfate,
okay,
and this is different.
Okay.
So again, you know, try the test.
Yeah.
Highly unlikely. Would else I would do is probably specifically for your kids, even though you said like all nuts, I would try doing an unrefined coconut oil.
Oh, we do, for lotion, I do olive and coconut.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
coconut isn't a nut. But I know some people can't do coconut.
Right.
So, but
Right.
my kids
But
can at least.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people will say they can't do coconut, but topically you usually
Yeah.
can.
Yeah,
You know, so that's one way to get some of those good fats in the system.
they just can't do the Epsom.
Okay,
Right.
yeah. Unlikely that these will cause an issue, but
Okay.
you wanna do a
Try
test
anyway.
first. But yeah, so if we can detox through the skin and not run our GI through some of that, that's a good thing too, okay? Cause our GI's already doing a lot. And this will help get some stuff through the skins, it can get through the muscles, through the skin. It's a really great way to add more magnesium into the body, cause your skin absorbs the magnesium a lot better than your GI system does too. So you can get higher doses of magnesium through soaking in the tub. And anybody like anti-tub?
I was.
Okay. So if you're anti-tub, you can soak your feet, okay? So soak your feet, you wanna do the tub like 45 minutes. Feet's the same thing, and you get about 80% of the benefits just soaking the feet because of how your body works and detoxes through your feet too. So if you're anti-tub, soak your feet, it'll feel good, and your body
So
will.
cure stinky teeth.
Yes.
Yeah, too.
And a little silver.
Add a little silver. If you still have stinky feet issues, try doing some tea. So soak your feet in black tea, the
Not saying
tannins.
it's theoretical.
I know, theoretical for somebody. The tannins in tea will, change some of the sweat in the feet so that it's not so stinky, so, kinda cool. So, that's one of those, life hack things. So, alright, well, I think my brain's kinda depleted as of right now, so anybody have any other questions?
How much of that get to use in the bath?
We do about 2 ounces. So, you know, and anybody, speaking of that, anybody who is going through some stuff, you know, just physically and, you know, chemical wise, where toxicity is an issue, more baths you can do, the better. So just soak, and just get that stuff out as much as you can. So yeah, I'm gonna hang out. Several other people in the room, as you can tell, are pretty well versed as well. So if anybody has any questions or wants to talk afterwards, absolutely free to do so. And thank you very much for coming, and I hope I helped you in some way so that we can all heal.